Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. A lot of people have been reaching out to me to ask me like they've gotten admission to the US, but they are not getting funding. What should they do? So I decided to talk to Edward, who is currently a PhD student at University of Texas, Arlington, to be able to share with us some of the funding opportunities available. I also have with me Abiatha, who is a prospective student who wants to go to the US. And so basically, I'll allow them to introduce themselves and we can dive right in. Yeah, so give us a brief introduction.
All right. I'm Edward Quarm. So I'm currently a PhD student here at University of Texas at Arlington. Arlington is in close to Dallas. It's in Texas. So I'm in my fourth year in the electrical engineering department, and my research is in optimization and control. I have a master's from France, and I have an undergraduate from Ghana.
Beata? Okay, Abiata, you're muted, so you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, Barbara. I'm Abiata Otu. I'm a graduate civil engineer currently working with DRE Global. I completed Ken UST 2019 and I'm a prospective graduate student. I've actually received a couple of offers, but I'm still looking for funding. So that's why I'm here.
But Abiata, why the US, if I may ask?
I mean, it's US, the land of opportunity.
So yeah. So you're saying there are no opportunities in other countries, is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, but I mean, I'm optimizing my resources.
Okay, so before we start, there's something I want to chip in. Like, yeah, there are so many people who want to go to the US, and basically to go and not return back. One thing you realize is when it comes to grad school, if the US is not working for you, you should move to other countries, and from there you might be in a better opportunity. You might be in a better space to actually get to the US. Edward wanted to go to the US, right, from undergrad, but he didn't start from the US. He went through France to the US. So if like you're doing and it's not working, you should actually look at other countries where, because most of the time what actually stops people is the funds. So if you've tried everywhere and the funds are not working, there are other countries where they are tuition free, like France, Germany, Norway, Holland. I heard is very cheap. So you can look at those countries, but don't forget your dreams to the land of opportunities. But it's not always a straight way. So if it's not going that way, you could just use another part. So yeah, I'm glad to have you guys here. I hope that we are going to have an interesting conversation today. Yeah. So Edward, over to you. Okay.
Okay, so Road to USA. This is a very, very interesting topic for discussion. I think that many people out there are looking for scholarships to the United States. Actually, United States is, I think, one of the after countries when it comes to graduate education. So I'm going to be talking about some strategies to take if you are applying to the United States, any school in the United States. Some strategies you can take, some common mistakes that I made and that many people are making, and also some general advice and some things you can have on your plate as you apply to grad school in the United States. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Edward. I have a bachelor's in electrical engineering from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana, and I have a master's in control systems from Grenoble in France. And then I am currently a PhD student, a fourth year PhD student in electrical engineering in the University of Texas at Arlington. So yeah, that's introduction. Okay, so this is not supposed to be a formal presentation, but I just want to outline some things you can consider, and also streamline my thoughts. So generally, if you're an applicant to the United States, you have to talk about the types of scholarships that you can have or you can get in the United States. Okay, So if you are looking,
Edward, just a minute. How do you want us to, when we have a question, would you want us to stop you, or you want to finish the presentation, then we can have conversations on them? How would you prefer it to go?
yeah, so I want to finish the
Oh,
presentation, and then any question that comes out
oh,
of the presentation or unanswered questions you can ask.
okay, that's great then.
Okay, so let's look at the types of scholarships in the United States. If you're a grad student looking for scholarships in the United States, right? So um, you can find, U.S. government funded scholarships, like the Fulbright scholarships, which is a very, very common and popular scholarship for grad students looking for graduate school in the United States. There's the Hubert Humphrey Scholarship. I really don't know much about that, but I found that online. So definitely that is a U.S. government funded scholarship. We have the non-government scholarships, which are privately funded. So we talk about some examples. There's a lot of examples online. I just took a few of them. The Mastercard Foundation Scholarship is one example. And I know personally in Ghana, a couple of undergraduates have been supported through this program to study in the United States. I think they have a total of about 270 graduate students in total between, I think, 2017 and 2022 to come and study in the United States. So there's the Aga Khan Foundation Scholarship also, which I found online. And then there's the university specific scholarships. So these are scholarships that are offered from the university, and they could be need based or merit based scholarships. So need based, if you can actually prove that you have a particular need from, let's say, your background, from your country, wherever, the university allocates some funds to your tuition. It could be 100% tuition or just um, percentage waiver. Okay, there's a noise in the background. Sorry. Okay, so then we have the graduate assistantships, right? So graduate assistantships, we are talking about teaching assistantships, research assistantships, and fellowships. Okay, so graduate assistantships. I'm going to be focusing on graduate assistantships. The other assistantships or the other scholarships that I spoke about are scholarships where I feel they are available to graduate students. However, the most reliable ones, or what I'll say, the scholarship that you have the most control over in terms of, let's say, submitting an application and being approved for a full tuition waiver, is the graduate assistantships. So I'll just be talking about the graduate assistantships. So before I delve right into graduate assistantships, you need to know, like, what is a graduate assistant? Who is a graduate assistant? What do graduate assistants do? And are you qualified to be a graduate assistant? Right. So graduate assistants actually assist the faculty to perform their teaching duties and research duties. Hence, there's the graduate teaching assistants and the graduate research assistants. Right. So graduate teaching assistants actually do grading work. They grade homework, they grade examinations, they grade midterms. They also help undergraduate or graduate students with homework. They have office hours. Each week they have, at least in my school, you are supposed to have 2 office hours a week, which is like 40, if I'm right, supposed to sum up to about 4 hours a week, I think. 40 hours, sorry, 40 hours a week. So within the 40 hours, you would be helping undergraduate students with problems for their homework, for their assignments, for their exams, any kind of problem they have. Occasionally, you would assist the faculty members to teach in class. So some graduate assistants actually go with the lecturers to classrooms and help the students, help teach. On days where the lecturer is not available, they take over the class and teach. Graduate research assistants assist faculty members in research duties. So a graduate research assistant will do stuff like background literature review for the lecturer. He would run simulations. He would perform some tests, and he would help lecturers publish papers. Okay, so these are the two assistantships, and these are the roles that the graduate assistant, the teaching assistant, and the research assistant have, right? So these are essentially university employees. Okay, they are paid a monthly stipend by performing their duties like teaching and research. And most assistantships are accompanied with tuition waivers. So in addition to your stipend, your monthly salary, which is like peanuts, your monthly stipend is just supposed to support, let's say, your accommodation expenses and let's say your feeding expenses. That's it, right? It's nothing big. But in addition to being an assistant, you actually get tuition waiver. Now, this depends on the school. Okay, you can get 80% tuition waiver. Hence, you have to use some of your stipend to pay the rest of the tuition, right? You can get 85. I've heard of 85. I've heard of 90%. And if you are lucky, I've heard of 100% tuition waiver. And sometimes even 110% tuition waiver, such that you actually get some money back. Okay, so that is the best case scenario. Know that many schools in the United States actually don't offer 100% tuition waiver to assistants, graduate assistants. In my school currently, in the department that I'm in, graduate assistants actually get 85% tuition waiver. Right. If you are lucky, your supervisor, who is your professor, your supervising professor, would actually subsidize the rest of the money and pay for the rest of the remaining amount, right? But if you are not lucky, you have to use your monthly stipend to pay for that. Okay. So how are they awarded? How are teaching assistants awarded? How are research assistants awarded? Now, research assistantships are awarded by faculty members, essentially. What I mean is, not all teaching and research assistants are actually awarded by faculty members, but the majority of them are. Okay, so at the beginning of the semester, the professors or the lecturers actually choose students to be assistants. So by choosing them, let's say they offer, they say, okay, I want Edward to be my teaching assistant, or I want Edward to be my research assistant. Now, it is not guaranteed. Let's say you are offered an assistantship in the spring semester of this year, 2021. We are in the spring semester. Spring semester just ended. It is not guaranteed that you'll be a teaching assistant in the fall semester. Okay, and it's not guaranteed that you'll be an assistant in the semester that follows. Okay, assistantships are awarded each semester, and they are not like a blank guarantee for the rest of your education that you are going to be an assistant, you're going to have tuition waiver, you're going to have stipend. That is why it is actually very, it's based on merit or your performance during the semester. Okay, so let's say some spring semester you were awarded a teaching assistantship or a research assistantship, and then you did not perform well in the exam. In fall semester, you could be dropped. from being a teaching assistant or a research assistant, and you would lose your stipend and you will lose your tuition waiver.
Interesting.
So that is how it works. Now, the other category of teaching assistants are also awarded by the department. These are usually awarded based on also GPA score and GRE score. Okay, so you are not in the United States. You are looking to come to the United States for grad school. What should you know? What you should know is teaching assistantships and research assistantships are always available to you in any time or in any period of the year. Any semester of the year, you are actually eligible to get teaching assistantship or a research assistantship, right? And they are evaluated. So let's say I'm creating a scenario here. In the spring semester, the electrical engineering department gets applicants from outside of the United States wanting to study in the United States, right? They get applicants to the graduate school, and part of these applicants, they have like good GRE scores. Like some of them are really high GRE scores. The electrical department will consider your application in the teaching assistantship, let's say, evaluation. Okay, as against the current students in the school. Okay, so it's highly competitive. If somebody coming from outside of the the university has a higher GRE score, chances are they are going to get a teaching assistantship over somebody currently in the school. So it's like every semester, it's a fair game. Everybody is going for this, this position. It's very, very competitive. So I want to paint a picture of how competitive this assistantship is. Okay. So I hope I'm doing a good job to paint it to you.
You actually, there were so many things I didn't know. So it's more like survival of the fittest.
It's a survival of the fittest kind of situation. It's a survival of the fittest situation. And also, before I move on, actually, there are lots of teaching assistantships. A lot. Imagine there could be 2 teaching assistants for each class. So depending on the class size, let's say there's a class size of 60. I taught a class size of 60. I was a teaching assistant for a class of 60 students, and there was 2 of us. Okay, so if in a school, in a department, in a semester, they are offering about 30 courses, so they are going to be at least 60 assistants, right? So there are teaching assistantships available. There's a lot. Okay, but it is really survival of the fittest because, of course, even though there are 60, everybody wants it. Okay, so where can you find graduate assistantships? Okay, so you can find it from reaching out to faculty members, since they are the people who actually award these assistantships. You can find them actually on websites of professional societies. Now, this is something many people don't know, and it's something I got to find out later. So if you belong to a professional society like the IEEE, the ASCE, the IEEECS, the Computer Science Society for IEEE, the NSF, National Science Foundation, and the DOE, Department of Energy, or the NIH, this is National Institute of Health, the medical field, whichever professional society that you fall under, you can actually find assistantships on these websites. So occasionally, lecturers actually advertise assistantships on these websites and look for high quality graduate students. Okay, emphasis on high quality. So you can also next find assistantships by actually networking with faculty members and postdocs. So, and current graduate students. So don't discount postdocs, because postdocs are actually, they play a major role in recruiting graduate assistants. They can suggest, or recommend graduate assistants to be, awarded, So how do you network? Add them on LinkedIn, add them on Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform that you are comfortable with. Reach out to them, send them a message on LinkedIn, send them a message on Facebook, Instagram. Okay. So scholarships are very competitive. That's one thing you have to know if you want to come to the United States or any other country in the world. Scholarships are very, very, very competitive. And scholarships are awarded to mostly the best students. Okay. One time I was having a conversation with my current supervisor, and he told me, Edward, you know that I get at least 50 emails a day from people wanting to work with me. I was like, wow, 50 emails each day for people wanting to come to the United States and just, go to school for free, in quotes, because as a graduate assistant, you are not paying anything. Okay, so 50 emails. How are you going to stand out? How is your email going to stand out? How is your profile going to stand out from the rest of the crowd?
Oh, Edward, I'm sorry to stop you before you continue. Actually, this was a discussion I was having with Abiata before we started the meeting, because he felt that as far as he sends the professor an email, he expects a reply back. And I'm like, no, you don't. You can't expect a reply back, because as far as you're also sending them emails, there are so many people all over the world who are also sending them an email. Like, so why should he reply to an email? Because he's also busy. So yeah, I just decided to chip in before we continue.
Yeah. Exactly. And actually, professors see every email. Know this. I'm going to emphasize that in the slide that continue. Professors see every email. They don't actually miss any email. They see it, but they will not reply based on whether they want to or not. So they can decide, okay, I'm going to reply this email. I'm not going to reply this email. They see it. So if your email is not standing out to them, they will obviously not respond. Okay. So yes, how do you stand out from the crowd? Now, I have a few things I can talk about. About 6 years ago, I wanted to do a master's in the United States. I wrote the GRE like everybody else. I applied to schools like everybody else, and I sent emails like everybody else, right? But I wasn't getting any reply. I got a couple of replies, but they were just vague. I don't have funds. Sorry, I don't have funds. Those were very, very common. Some of them even did not reply in the end. But I learned a few things, and later on, I realized that if I had done these things, I might have stood a better chance of actually getting a response back. You understand? So I want to share these things with you so that you will have that and add it to your arsenal or whatever you are doing, so that you actually stand a better chance. It's not going to guarantee that you're going to get a response, but it's going to make you a better candidate. So you have to build a very compelling profile. Okay. You have to brand yourself. Brand yourself. Who are you? What do you want to achieve in life? What do you seek to do in your career? What have you already done? And what do you want to do? Okay. Do you have a passion for teaching? Do you have a passion for research? Do you have a passion for grad school? Or you just want to do grad school and, for free and just go? No. So you have to build a compelling profile. Why should the lecturer want to have you as a student, as a teacher or teaching assistant, a research assistant? So in doing this, you have to actually work on your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn works. LinkedIn works. Go back to your LinkedIn. If you are not receiving a reply from a lecturer, chances are he has looked you up and he thinks that you are not a good candidate. So is your online information telling the full story? Maybe you have some hidden documents that hasn't been released online. So when he goes online to look up your name, he doesn't see these things. So go back to your LinkedIn profile, upload a nice picture, take a good picture, put it there. Write a very compelling profile. Upload some projects that you have done in your undergraduate, in your job, whatever you are doing, freelance, your private projects. Upload all of these onto LinkedIn, because that is the only way he can actually access you without actually having to send you an email. Have a portfolio of your work available. The same thing on LinkedIn, on GitHub, on blogs. You have blogs, your Twitter. What do you do on Twitter, or your Facebook, your YouTube, your TikTok, your Instagram? Have some online presence that actually says something about what you do as a career, and just have some online presence. I know, because lecturers actually will Google your name. They'll search on you. So you send your lecturer an email. You say, my name is that. They will actually copy and paste your email into Google to see what is available or what the internet is saying about you. Okay, so have some kind of online presence. Do something with, I don't know, TikTok. I know there are some people who actually are doing some kind of career-driven stuff on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, whatever. Learn a new skill. So there's Coursera, there's Udemy, there's LinkedIn Learning. Learn a new skill, have a certificate, and attach this to your achievements. This makes you actually stand out from the rest of the crowd. And though you might be an undergrad who has not yet taken graduate courses, try and take graduate courses on Coursera. Take graduate courses on Udemy, take graduate courses on LinkedIn. Learn a skill, whether it's data analysis, how to use Excel to do data analysis, how to use Python to do data analysis, how to use C++. Learn a skill that some of your colleagues don't know. Or better still, teach a skill. If you can teach a skill on TikTok or Instagram, it makes you an expert in that, at least in that skill. So you know a skill, however be it, whatever it is. Let's say it's about how to delete a file on Microsoft Office. Let's say how to delete a Microsoft Word document. Okay, how to just click delete and it's gone from your computer. Teach it on YouTube. Teach a skill that many people probably know, but there are some people who actually don't know, and might want to learn. It makes you a kind of an expert, in that particular skill. If you know how to, any skill you have, any skill, it could be formal or informal, maybe how to knit, or how to let's say sew a cloth, or how to iron a shirt, how to lace your shoes. I mean, I'm speaking in generalities, but of course, you have to teach a skill in the field of study that you want to go into. If you are not able to teach a skill in this kind of study, you could teach a skill in any area that you want. Have an online presence. And you have to start the application process several months ahead. Now, what I mean is you have to actually start talking to the lecturers. At least some people just wait, and when they get the admission, that's when they start speaking to lecturers. You don't have to do that. Although you could be successful, you don't have to do that. You could start talking to lecturers at least 12 months before you even send in an application to the school. Send them emails. reach out to them on Instagram or LinkedIn, whichever platform. Speak to them, have a conversation with them, request a Skype call, request a brief Skype call, a brief, one-on-one on them online, and see how it goes. So it's a process. It's a process. So I'm gonna go to the next one. So I'm gonna talk about cold emails. Now, if you know what a cold email is, then I would say you are doing a good job when it comes to applying for grad school. If you don't know, a cold email is actually the first contact you make to faculty members requesting for assistant availability of assistantships. Okay, so you have to reach out to them through LinkedIn, through email, whichever forum. Email is not the de facto forum. Okay, so don't feel like email is the only channel that you can send any kind of request. Lecturers are human beings too. They go on social media. They have phones. They go on Instagram. Every time I go to my supervisor's office, he's sometimes on Instagram. He's sometimes on LinkedIn. He's sometimes on Snapchat. You get it? So they are human beings too. And if you send them a message through any avenue, they see it. So don't utilize all the all the tools available to you. So do's and don'ts, right? Okay. So what are some of the do's? So one do is to merge all your application packets, your documents into one single PDF file. Now, if you send an email to a lecturer, try not to have multiple attachments. Okay, it's a bit too much to have 5 attachments to a single email, where you attach your cover letter, your resume, your transcripts, your projects, your recommendations. It's a bit too much. Rather, merge all of these into a single PDF and attach it, so that it's easy to scroll through from beginning to end and see everything that you want to show. He doesn't have to click this, click that, click that, click that, click that. So that makes your email, attractive and neat. So make sure to attach an application packet to your email, or include the links to some project that you have worked on. Now, there are several school of thoughts to this one. Some people think, hey, you don't need to attach anything to an email when you are sending you send an email to a professor. I would suggest that you should attach a PDF to your email. The reason being, the lecturer is going to decide to reply based on something he has actually assessed. How can he assess you? He can assess you only if you provide him some documents to assess, which is your transcript, which is your resume, which is your recommendations, which is a sample project, or a link to your GitHub. Okay, so I would strongly advise you to actually have an attachment to the email. Don't let the email be just, without any attachment, blank like that. And check the time zone before sending your email. Don't send email at midnight. Okay, don't send your email at midnight while he's asleep, doing his own private stuff. Don't send emails at midnight, because it already shows, like, he's going to get angry, first of all, because he's getting emails. Why am I getting this email at 12 a.m., at 1 a.m.? Why? This is disturbance.
And what if it shows that you're serious, like you work overtime? So like when everybody's asleep, you're still busy, you're still working.
It actually shows that you actually don't know what's going on. He's gonna get an email at one. I tell you, he will actually delete that email without opening it. The best time to send emails is early morning, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. When he gets to the office, his first, the when he goes through his email list for the day, he sees your email. Chances are, he's going to be in a good mood. So he's going to, mark this email down and say, okay, I'm going to pay attention to this email later in the day. So just, gauge and look for the right time to send emails. This doesn't, of course, guarantee that your email is going to be replied, but just, send them at the right time. Don't spam faculty members with email. One is enough. One is enough. Faculty members, lecturers, they see emails. They see emails. In fact, they are always looking out for emails because they have probably applied to a grant that they are waiting for a response. They have probably applied to some kind of funding that they are waiting to hear back from. So any email comes, they are actually, okay, then they put their phone down. Any email comes, they check, then they put their phone down. They are checking their emails all the time to see, like to hear a response from a paper they've submitted, waiting to hear back whether it has been accepted or not. So don't think that faculty members don't see your email. If you did not get a reply, it means they did not want to reply your email. Okay. Now, does it mean that don't follow up? Yes, you can actually have a follow-up email. You can have a follow-up email, let's say 2 weeks after sending the first email. Send a follow-up, say, hey, hi, dear doctor or professor, I'm sending a follow-up to the email I sent 2 weeks prior of my interest to work on your research project. That is a follow-up email. Don't send the follow-up email too soon, like 2 days after your first email, then you send another one. Then you send another, and you're like, okay, the more I send, then he knows that I'm serious. No, he'll report you to IT and they will block your email. Okay, so it's spam. Don't spam his email address. Don't send emails in the middle of the night. I spoke about that. And don't attach more than one PDF file. I spoke about that too. Okay. So know that, lecturers are human beings like us. Imagine you were a lecturer and you were getting several emails from the same person, or you're getting emails in the night while you have a project that you are really, like, you have headaches over, that you are thinking about. How would this affect your mood? How would this, affect your ability to respond or not to respond? Okay. So let's look at some samples of cold emails, right? So what should you have? You should have a good catchy subject, right? So for example, prospective student, fall 2021, Edward Quarm, in the subject. Prospective student, fall 2021, Edward Quarm. You have your name in there. So that without actually opening the email, he knows what the email is about. Okay. Now, don't let the email scream, I'm looking for funds. If the email is saying, I want funds now, that's like a no. Don't do that. Don't do that. We all know that, and he knows it. He or she knows, the lecturer knows that education in the United States is expensive. And the majority of people can't afford it and they want funds. So he knows what your intention is, or she knows what your intention is. Don't make it too obvious in the title or in the mail that, okay, all I'm looking for is money to fund my school so that I don't have to pay out of pocket. Show that you have a passion for research. So show that you want to actually work with him or her. Show that you have followed them for a while and you are so like, wowed by their papers. You are so wowed by their publications and the way they are so expert in the field that you want to work with them. Just show an interest other than, money or funds. Make it short and simple. Nothing too long. Make sure that you read the research papers published by the professor before you reach out to them. Now, this is really, really important. I understand. I know that with an undergrad education, you might not understand any of the papers that they have published. I have been there before. When I finished my undergrad, I downloaded some papers from a faculty member that I wanted to work with. And I started to read it. And I realized that I didn't understand anything, but you could actually ask somebody to explain it to you. Ask a graduate student to explain the paper to you. Ask somebody who knows more about the subject area to actually teach you a few things in the paper. Okay, and have these tools with you, and put in some technical words in the email, some words that he is not expecting you to know. He's not expecting an undergraduate student with just undergraduate education to know these things. So seek help. Don't think that these things don't matter. They really matter because it is competitive. Who are your competitors? Your competitors is the whole world. The people from undergraduate students all around the world are actually sending emails. Some of them have these tools, some of them don't. So just, go the extra mile, know a few things that you don't know before and add it to this email. Ask for an opportunity to work with them on research instead of asking for funding. You say, so just, hey, you reach out to them and say, I want to work with you on your research. As I said, there's a lot of money in the school to fund graduate education. I gave an analogy. Let's say there are 30 courses in a semester. There could be at least 60 teaching assistantships up for grabs. Aside from that, there could be another, let's say in my lab, there's about 4 graduate students in my lab, right? Whenever the lecturer gets funding, he has to support graduate students. Okay, so in addition to 60 teaching assistants, there could be another 30 positions available for graduate assistants. 30. That makes it 90. 90 positions available. Okay, every year for graduate assistants. That's a lot. That is a lot. However, everybody wants it. If everybody wants it, everybody wants this position because they know that, okay, if I get it, I'm not going to pay tuition. So there is available position, but they is only awarded to the best people, the best candidates. So make sure that you are the best candidate coming into the program or applying for the position. So some examples, I found this online. It's a very, very good example. So the subject introduces what the email is about. Prospective students for 2019. So this is for a student in advertising research, advertising, I guess marketing, that department. So he's looking for a research position or a research assistantship. So, dear Dr. John, you refer to them as doctor. Don't try too much to do prof. Okay, don't try too much to do prof. There are some professors in the department, but most of them are actually doctors. Okay, there are some distinguished professors, but most lecturers are actually professors. Okay, doctors, sorry. So, dear Dr. John, I'm applying to University of Wisconsin for fall 2021 for Masters in Marketing. I have read few of your research publications on advertising research targeting online customers. I have worked on similar marketing projects at school involving design and processing online customer data by surveys. I'm interested in advertising research area, and would like to know about research opportunities to work with you. Looking forward for your reply. PS, find attached my application packet. Simple. Just how many lines? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. You see, that's it. You don't have to do too much. Don't write in the body of the email. Oh, I have read your paper. I know your paper is all about how to do this. I can do this, that. I can add more things to your. Don't do all that. Don't go trying to act like you are impressive. You see, just your packet is going to speak for itself. Your resume is going to speak for itself. Your cover letter is going to speak for itself. Your project will speak for itself. Your recommendations will speak for itself. So just don't do too much in the body of the letter or in the body of the email. Simple email, a few lines, and that's it. He would click on the attachment, look through, and assess you, and then respond or not respond. Okay, so I think that's it. To conclude, I feel like there's a lot of funding available in the United States. It's up for grabs. Just present yourself as the one who is supposed to have that funding, the best candidate. Present your one as, okay, I feel I am the one for this scholarship. And I wish you all the best. You would get it. Yep, that's it.
So, thank you very much, Edward. It's really been very entertaining, interesting, and very educative. There's actually been a lot of things that I didn't know myself that I got to learn. So, before we continue, I'd like to chip in some few suggestions. Then maybe Abiata could ask his questions. Then we can continue. With regards to the email, when you talked about you shouldn't send the email at midnight, actually, Gmail has something that you can actually schedule the email. So let's say maybe you are somebody who works at midnight. So you can just schedule the email and be like, oh, this email should be sent at this time. So you don't have to worry yourself. You know that at 8 a.m. or at 5 a.m., these emails will be sent for you. And also the second point about like when you read the papers and you don't understand, even for me as a graduate student now, there are some papers I read and I do not understand. So like when you don't understand, you don't really have to worry too much. And one thing I recently realized, or which helped me, was some of these professors have done presentations online. So a good start is, even if you can't read a paper, you can search their names and look for some of the presentations they've done and listen to it. Maybe there might be questions that will also help you have thoughts about these research. So you could also exploit that opportunity, look at the presentations they've done online. The same way they'll search your name, you should also search their name, and you'll be able to get some of the works they have done. And for slide 7, you talked about some societies. All these societies are in the US. Like, I didn't even know that they actually put in research assistantships on these societies. So the societies you mentioned, they are all examples of societies in the US.
Since talking about United States, I just put in societies in the US, but
Okay.
they could also be any country.
Oh, okay. So before I continue, I'll give Abiata the chance to ask his questions. Then I would ask my questions. So Abiata.
Okay, so thank you, Edward, for this Wonderful presentation. Okay, so I'll be asking the questions based on like the for how you presented, right? The order. So the first question is on the types of scholarship. You mentioned the governmental and the non-governmental. Are there any catch or restrictions to those scholarships? If you get them, do you have to, let's say, come back to the country, or are there some clauses that you have to pay attention to?
Okay, right. So, yes, some of them have restrictions to them. Some of them you have to return back to the country. I know Fulbright scholarship, you have to actually go back to your country after completing your education. I don't really have so much information about the governmental scholarships and the non-governmental scholarships yet, but I'm sure you can find a lot more online about these scholarships.
Okay. Then you also mentioned about the university specific scholarships. So for those ones, do you apply separately or it's an automatic consideration?
It's an automatic consideration. Um, yes. I mentioned previously that in the slides that, it's a survival of the fittest kind of situation. So if you're a new applicant to into the university, your application is automatically considered for assistantships or scholarships in general. Departmental scholarships, college scholarships, whichever scholarships, it's considered. So your GPA, they'll look at your GPA, they'll look at your GRE score, they will look at your recommendation letters, and they'll look at a whole lot of things, a whole lot of metrics. So one thing I didn't mention is don't concentrate too much, don't put too much emphasis on the GRE score. I know people who actually will write the GRE for like 5 times. You know, and then when you are not finding school, you get frustrated because okay, you've written it 5 times, you have a great score, 160, maybe above 160, and you're not getting scholarship. Why is it that you're not getting scholarship? It's because you have put too much emphasis on your GRE score while your other metrics are not really pulling any weight. Why not, you know, get like do a project, do some coding, put it on GitHub, write a code that does basic, something basic. Um, do some robotics project. You get an okay GRE score, keep it as it is, and concentrate on the other aspects. One thing I also didn't talk about in detail was, sorry if I'm talking too much, but one thing I didn't talk about in detail was recommendation letters. That's a whole topic on it. But recommendation letters actually make or break your application. I tell you, you have to make sure you have a great recommendation letter. A recommendation letter that comes from somebody who has, let's say, a PhD or let's say a master, something higher than what you have. Okay. Or somebody who you have worked under as a supervisor. Saying great things about you, not just okay things. Okay, he can do the job. I feel like I recommend him for any scholarship. You want a great recommendation that says he is one of the brightest people I have met in this field. He has a great future ahead of him. He has the capacity to become one of the leading researchers in this field if given the support. Some powerful recommendation letters that will go a long way. Also have a written out recommendation, whether digital copy, a soft copy, a PDF copy, written out, and attach it to your packet. So let your lecturers who you studied under their courses, let them write a recommendation letter for you, a PDF copy, and attach it to your packet and send it to the lecturer when you send an email. Arrange it such that your CV comes, your recommendation letter comes after that. Because after CV, after talking about your skills, You have to talk about what people say about your skills. And then you present your transcripts. Okay. Then after the transcript, you present your project in the last file. So make sure you arrange it well. And recommendations actually really, really, really matter. They really, really matter.
I want to add something little to the recommendation letter. Most of the time, people don't really get great recommendation letters. Why? Because your teachers don't know you. Because you forget, like when you're in school, you feel that it's I don't know, there's an enmity between you and your teachers, so you're always hiding. How do you expect them to write recommendation letters when they do not know you? Like for me, all my teachers knew me. Like I'm sure from primary school till now, any school I did attend, they all knew me because like I was always the one. I liked asking questions, and what most people don't know is like sometimes the questions might be silly, but the whole idea why I do this is for them to remember me. Like, so I know that no matter how long it takes, when I go back, wherever I go back, everybody knows me because I do believe in the power of networking, and I do believe that wherever I want to go, I can't do it alone, and I need these people. So it's very important that when I leave, like 50 years, 20 years, when you go back, be like, oh, Barbara Baji. Oh, yeah, I know Barbara Baji, that girl who likes asking so many questions. So it's very important. Like, if it doesn't matter in your workplace, wherever you are, you should find a way to make sure that everybody knows you so that when you need them, it's not now they'll be thinking, Abiata, who is Abiata? Like, they are looking at you in your face, but they can't remember you. So it's very important that you make that mark. Like you should start now. Like in as much as you might feel that maybe time has passed, but you should start now because most of the time they write generic recommendations letters. Why? Because they don't know you, they don't remember you. And also, I don't know how you're able to tell, but it's very important to know if the recommendation letter they are writing for you, it's a good enough one. And it's important to choose somebody you know that he or she is going to write a good recommendation letter. Maybe in school you had a problem with this professor. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to go to this professor to write a recommendation letter. You might feel that he might not write something bad, but you shouldn't take the risk. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to add to this.
Yeah, and yeah, those are good suggestions. Also, I learned this after I graduated from France. Before you leave the school, take recommendation letters. Actually, go a step further and take a recommendation letter after you finish the course. If you are right now in your undergrad, you have to do this. Immediately the course ends, when the grades are posted, go back to the lecturer and let them write a recommendation letter for you. They will ask, what are you using this for? Tell them, oh, you have plans of going to grad school. So if they can actually write these recommendation letters down for you so that you have a written down record of how you performed in the class. In the recommendation letter, they have to write your rank, how you ranked in the course, whether you were, let's say, they have to do a rank of all the students. Were you the fifth out of 60 students? They have to write your rank on the recommendation. They have to write how you contributed in class, all the details, and they have to also write what the class was about. So when you finish a course, make sure you are leaving the class with a recommendation letter. I'm not saying do this for all the courses you take, but just the important ones that you actually feel like they would matter to you in grad school, make sure that you have a recommendation from these lecturers. Now, in the future, if this recommendation letter is too old, you can actually you can send this same recommendation back to the lecturer to write the same one but dated for the present date or something more recent, so that you have they know that, oh, they wrote this in the past and they can rewrite it with the same information, however change the date. I think that works more than just waiting, and when you are ready for grad school you are going to chase them and they don't even remember you. Yeah. Any questions?
Okay, then that makes sense. Um, on the assistantships, you mentioned that sometimes the tuition waiver is not 100%, right?
Yeah.
If that's the case, can you get additional scholarship to it, or it's like if you take the graduate assistantship, you cannot take any other scholarship?
Yeah, you can actually add more scholarships to it. If you've been offered a scholarship in the United States and it is not a full scholarship, I would advise you to actually take it and come. Take it and come. And don't wait till you get 100% scholarship. If you have, let's say, the department offered you $2,000 as some kind of STEM fellowship or tuition waiver, and they offered you in-state tuition, and they are saying your tuition is now going to be, let's say, $10,000, and out of that, they offer you 2,000. So now your tuition is going to be $8,000. I would still advise you to come. Go through the application process, apply for a visa, find some financial documentation, and come to the United States. Because when you come, the fees are paid on a semester basis. So that $8,000 is going to be split into 2 semesters. And then if it's split into 2 semesters, you have until the end of the semester to pay. So by the middle of the semester, let's say by midterm or even towards exam, you are really performing well, you can go talk to your financial advisors, you can talk to your lecturers, you can talk to the head of department that, okay, I'm really performing well in my tests. I'm getting 100 over 100, 10 over 10, and I want to ask for more funds so that I'll be able to continue the education. Chances are they will listen to you and they will support you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
So then that you mentioned you should get a financial document and then come. Now, yeah, that's my question. The financial document, is it something that is telling them that you can actually pay for your fees when you can't? And then you're hoping when you get there, you get the, the remainder to pay.
okay, yes. So it's something telling them that you can pay for your school fees when you actually can't. Now, are you hoping? I don't think you are hoping, because if you feel like you are good enough, when you come, you will get a scholarship. As I said, there's scholarship available. Teaching assistantship, more than 60 positions up for grabs. Research assistantships, more than 30 up for grabs. If you are really good enough, which I feel most people are, when you come, you would get it. If after the first semester, just if your GPA is good after the first semester, that's it. You apply for teaching assistantships. They would assess you fairly because they'll look at your GPA, they'll look at your GRE score, and they'll look at everybody's GRE score. So that's why I said in the beginning, each semester is a survival of the fittest. So last semester, the person who was GTA doesn't mean that this semester he's going to be GTA. You could be GTA this next semester. Yes.
Okay. Then, and on the assistantships, if you have that, can you also have a side job? Can you work, or it's a take one and leave one?
So the assistantships are actually for 40, did I say 40? They are for 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week. International students are only allowed to work 20 hours a week in the United States. So you can't take any job apart, outside of the assistantships. If you have a government, if you have a scholarship like a MasterCard Foundation scholarship, you can actually work for the other 20 hours. You can take a campus job like working in the cafeteria, working at a rec center, in the library, to support your yeah studies. So yeah,
Okay.
so I want to motivate everybody, anybody who is doing an application in the United States. Don't feel like the fact that you did not get scholarship is the end. It's not the end of it. It's not the end game. If you got a in-state tuition, which, anyway, inside information. Texas offers a lot of in-state tuition. So in-state tuition means, okay, so the United States has a system where those who live in the state get some tuition waiver automatically by just being residents of the state. And those who live outside of the state pay more. So this is done, of course, to discourage people from studying in different states. They want you to stay in your state and study there. It just makes the university in that state also grow and have people attending, paying tuition, and the money flow and all that. So they offer tuition rebates, or they lower the tuition for those staying in the state. Now, Texas is a state that actually offers a lot of in-state tuition, even if you are not a resident. So I was offered an in-state tuition, though I haven't lived in Texas before. I haven't lived in the United States. I was offered in-state tuition. So that cuts your tuition sometimes even by 50%. And then the other scholarships will kick in. The department scholarships, the TA scholarships, whatever, then it will kick in and it will reduce it. So if you are looking for a graduate school, look for states that offer in-state tuition to international students. I mentioned Texas is one of them. Don't look for states that don't offer in-state tuition. Like, I don't think California does. I don't think New York does. I can be corrected, but those states is even, and don't look for states where living standards are through the roof, like California, like New York. You understand? Like Washington. Don't look for those states where it's expensive, such that even your stipend is not able to pay for anything. There are some states like Texas. Texas is a great state for students. There are some states like, I know Missouri is a great state for students. I know Arizona is a great state for students. There's a lot. Just speak to current graduate students in that school and learn from them what the conditions are in the state and how the school supports.
That when you mentioned the current grad students, it just reminded me of something. I didn't even know it was possible, but on Twitter, somebody was like, he was able to get his master. He was able to get funding for his masters because one of the professor's students recommended him, which you actually mentioned. I didn't even know something like that existed, and it was just by recommendation. Like it was like he hit him up on LinkedIn and they started talking to, oh, I've done this and that, and he recommended him. So I think it's also a good strategy people could use. You could reach out. So like most of the time, like you'll be able to know the professor's graduate students from their website. You just go to the website and they'll show you their graduate students. You reach out to them because I think they might also be easier. And even for my interview for my PhD, my professor had his PhD student there. So obviously he wanted his opinion on that. So if probably before, if I had contact with him, it makes things also easier. So I think that's also a route people should really make good use of to talk to current graduate students and ask them if it's possible for them to recommend them. And also, they also know if they are actually funding, like if the professor is working on a new project, they know that, oh, there's going to be a new project, so they'll need a new student so they can recommend you. So I think also that strategy is also quite important. And I have a question with regards to PhD in the US. Is it also the same thing as the masters? Like you're not given full funding, you also have to struggle for the research and teaching assistantship?
Actually, you don't have to struggle per se, although it's the same. It's the survival of the fittest. Okay, we are in it. We are in the pool. However, ours is more guaranteed because the lecturer would tell you, you know what, if you are doing this research for me, you are doing all that you need to do. I can guarantee that every semester I'm going to fight that you get the teaching assistantship or the research assistantship. They are going to make sure, they are going to put your name there so that you get it. However, if you are not doing the job, if you are not doing what he asked you to do, if he's not impressed by your performance, he can actually take it from you. He will not submit your name when it comes time for research assistantship allocation. So I've seen some before. I have seen some before where a PhD student lost his funding because he wasn't performing. And what that does is, okay, now you are going to pay the tuition and you can't pay. So what happens is, hey, you have to leave the university, you have to leave to another place or leave the country altogether. So yeah, it happens. It's just I think before you enter into a PhD program, you would have a certain level of a certain academic level, and you'll be able to maintain that research output or teaching output. Also, in my school, as a PhD student, you cannot get below 3.5 GPA each semester. So if your GPA falls below 3.5, you are automatically stripped of your assistantships or scholarships. That's the situation. And it happens. Many people fall out of this range and they lose their scholarships.
It's 3.5 over what?
4.0.
Oh.
3.5, yeah. Yeah, it's a competitive field, I tell you. It's very, very competitive. But every year you get people having scholarships. So maybe this year it will be your year and you would get it. So just don't stop applying. Don't feel like you're not good enough, or don't feel like you can't make it. You can make it. I have been with other graduate students from different countries, and I can tell you there's nothing they know that you don't know. Some of them are not you. Some of them you ask yourself, how did this guy get a scholarship? You know, how did you get a scholarship? You just like are so surprised, you know. But just sometimes you're not lucky. It just luck sometimes, and sometimes it's because you deserve it. But sometimes it's just lucky. You're not lucky. You don't get a scholarship. But you know, when you come, you struggle through first semester, then second semester you get it. So just don't lose hope. Just keep on fighting, and it's gonna work.
And when you said that, it just reminded me of something. In France, I got the IDEX Excellence Scholarship, and there was this Indian who didn't get, and he didn't understand because like he had already done his master's and his undergrad, and obviously he felt his grades were higher than mine, and he didn't understand the fact why I got the scholarship and he didn't get the scholarship. Like it was always a battle. Like, so why did you say? And I'm like, well, and what we fail to realize is, in as much as we are all from different countries, our grading system is different.
Yeah.
In Ghana, somebody who graduated with the first class is very, very good. In India, somebody who graduated with an 80 or 90 is no, like in Ghana, somebody graduated with a 70 is a very big deal. But in India, like 80 or 90 is like everybody's graduating with 80 or 90. So it's not necessarily really a big deal. So in as much as you know that you're competing with other people from the world, you shouldn't let that should actually really motivate you to put in a lot of effort, because you know that, as we all say, it's the survival of the fittest. You should should I say, align yourself to show that indeed you are the best candidate. For the emails, like I get most people actually reaching out to me, like they've sent several emails, like why aren't the professors replying to me? One thing I tell them is that, as you said, the professors are humans just like you and me, and you should put yourself in their shoes. If the email you send to them, if you yourself, like just imagine on a day that you are very busy, like let's just use WhatsApp, on a day you are very busy. If you take your WhatsApp and you see so many emails, there are some emails you click on, there are some messages you click on, others you not click on. Why? Because you are busy. So it's like by your first look, you are going to select which one you think it's important at that moment, and with the rest, you hope to like go back to them later on, which sometimes you forget and you don't do. So if you look at it and you're like, even if you wouldn't read that email or you wouldn't respond to that email, most of the time they will also not respond to that email. And that reminds me, Edward, how important is your motivation letter in the application process? Because there are some people who feel that the motivation letter is not important. Others also feel that it's quite important. What are your thoughts on that?
So actually, the motivation letters are important for the departmental scholarships. So if you want a scholarship from the department, that is, you want to be considered for, let's say, electrical engineering department scholarship, civil engineering, computer science department, business, whatever department that you want to go into. Motivation letters go to the graduate school, and the graduate school will send your packet to the department. So the department will read your motivation letter. They look at your CV, they look at your GRE score, and read your motivation letter. So whatever you've written in the motivation letter is part of the reason why they will offer you a scholarship or not. Okay. In fact, your packet, so your application packet, the application document that you send through the school's website, it goes, as I explained, it goes to a graduate school and it goes to the department, and it's sometimes circulated across all the lecturers. They circulate it. They send an email and circulate it and say, we have an applicant to our program. Kindly consider for any scholarships available. So there's a packet. It's not your packet only. Several packets from different applicants. So the lecturers will go in there, they will click, scroll through all the packets and see who is good enough this year that I want to add to my department or my group. So your motivation letter doesn't only end at graduate school. It goes through. They all see it. Some of them will read the recommendation letter, the motivation letter, and they'll be so impressed by the motivation you have for electrical engineering that they would like to offer you the scholarship. That is how far your motivation letter goes. So it's very, very, very important.
All right, thanks. Abiata, do you have any other questions or you're good?
Okay, so a quick one on the packets. So I was thinking, now you are sending, instead of sending, let's say, 5 different PDFs, you are sending one PDF with all your documents. So now let's say your documents, you have about 10, 15 pages. Now, if the professor wants to find a particular info, wouldn't it be easier if, let's say, you send PDFs and you've named them transcript, CV, this, he just goes there, opens transcript, checks, and feels he can proceed, rather than opening the packet and then having to scroll through to look for where the CV is or where this is? Or what do you think on that? What's your take on that?